Hello everybody, my name is KingStix and today I'm going to be showing you the top 3 best builds for Twitch jungle. I use these builds every time. There's very little variation I will ever take, and usually I take the first build, so I'm going to run you through step by step. First off, always take Hunter's Machete, Refillable Potion, and the Warding Totem. Best items, you don't want to take the normal health potions because you're going to want the refillable through sustain throughout the early game. With the normal health potions, it's going to end up putting you behind because until you have your Hurricane as Twitch, you're going to be taking a decent amount of damage from your camps and ganks. The very first item you're going to build is your Skirmisher's Saber. I always recommend going for Skirmisher's Saber instead of Stalker's Blade on Twitch because the smite does make you take 20% reduced damage for quite a while from whoever you smite. I believe it is 5 seconds, which is crazy long. It's really a mini exhaust which helps you fight any assassins or any people who are good at 1v1s. Helps to keep you alive in fights. And the second item you want to build after you have your Skirmisher's Saber Blood Razor complete is Hurricane. Hurricane will speed up your junglers by quite a bit and make you a team fighting monster with your ultimate. After you have your Hurricane, then you want to get Static Shiv and an Infinity Edge. You want to go for Static Shiv first because Twitch still needs that attack speed. It's going to give you a lot of crit. It's also going to give you a lot of magic damage, which can also crit, which is very nice since Twitch's whole kit is AD. Static Shiv is also fairly cheap for what it does. That's why we're going to be building it before Infinity Edge. After you have Static Shiv, go for your Infinity Edge. Your damage is going to be crazy now. You are now going to have 80% crit, so in a team fight, you should be landing mostly crits, and you will destroy anything as long as it doesn't have a ton of armor. The next item you're going to be building is Essence Reaver. This should be your 5th item. This will give you 100% crit, so you don't have to mess around with RNG. You're not at the mercy of the riot gods. It's also going to be giving you quite a bit of AD, and you will have 30% cooldown now, which will make your ultimate up quite a bit more, so you can get a pick, group back up with your team, and your ultimate should be up. And for your final item, I usually go with Lord Dominik's Regard. It lets you shred through tanks like they are nothing. You can usually kill a tank in 4 to 5 auto attacks depending on how tanky they are. If they're a true tank like Malphite Rammus, it might take you 6 to 8 auto attacks, but it really shouldn't take you very long to kill them at all. As long as you don't get chain CC'd, you'll melt through everything once you have your Lord Dominik's Regard. Before then, you can still kill tanks, but you can't melt through them half as fast as you go through a squishy. So this is your normal full build, start to finish, and we are going to be emulating this throughout a lot of our builds. So as you can see, I show you this in the true damage build number 1. This is what I take most often, especially if I'm smurfing or boosting. It works best. Lots of damage, lots of carry capability. I don't take boots because of my runes. I'll go into that after this. All you need to know is that this is your best build. If the enemy team has a lot of healing, you can go for Mortal Reminder. If the enemy team doesn't have a bunch of healers or more than 2 healers, I will go for Lord Dominik's Regard. The only exception is if they have a Soraka, I'll always get the Mortal Reminder. But for example, let's say they just have something like a Swain or maybe a Vladimir, then usually I'll go for Lord Dominik's Regard because it really does let you penetrate through tanks. So this is the true build number 1. Try to stay to this as close as possible unless you need variation. For example, build number 2 is good against bursty teams, something like a Zed or any kind of assassin, Kha'Zix, Xin, Jax. This will help you survive. And it's the same thing. You'll notice you get your Blood Razor still, you get your Hurricane, you get your Static Shiv, and now this is where things change. You typically go for a Guardian Angel because at this point in the game, the Zed or other assassin will be able to one-shot you with ease and get out. Thus, you're not going to be helping your team. Once you get your GA though, you're going to be getting extra AD, more armor, and if they do jump you and happen to kill you through your extra armor, the 30 armor is nice because that counters essentially 2 lethality items in the mid game. If they can get through that, then you'll get back up and help in the fight. After that, I like to go for the Infinity Edge. And then for my final item, there's 2 different items I'll build. I'll either go for a Frozen Mallet if I feel like that's enough HP to keep me alive from 1 assassin. Now, if the enemy team has 2 assassins, what I'll usually go for is a Randuin's Omen. The Randuin's Omen is really nice, 400 health, 60 armor. You take less damage from critical strikes. Also, it slows their attack speed, and you can release an AoE slow that slows them by 55% for 2 seconds. There's pretty much nothing that can kill you when you have a Randuin's Omen. You do lose out on a little bit of damage that you get with the Frozen Mallet and the slow. Just depends on what you're going up against. In general though, this should keep you alive from a bursty enemy team. If the assassin on the enemy team that keeps killing you is AP, you can also go for Mob Mortis instead. Now I'm going to be showing you the 3rd and final build that I will take, and this is the Tank Buster build. It's really used for when you're on a budget, or if you're not getting a lot of kills, you can take this as well. And basically it is just the Blood Razor once again into Hurricane, Standard, and now you're going to be going for a Bork. Bork is a nice third item when you are going up against a tanky enemy team because it gives you maximum health damage, 8% of the target's current HP, and physical damage on hit, which is nice in the early and mid game because enemies don't have a lot of armor yet. In the early and mid game, they're typically getting health items and they haven't stacked a bunch of armor, so this is what you want. Then you want to get an Infinity Edge because it's going to allow you to kill squishies and do more damage to tanks. And then finally, for your fifth item, you want to get some armor penetration, typically Lord Dominic's Regard, but once again, if they have a bunch of healing, going for Mortal Reminder is fine. And you might notice there is a final slot, and that's because it's very situational. For the Tank Buster build, you can finish it off by going more damage for an Essence Reaver if you feel like there's a squishy on the enemy team that you need to one-shot. If you want to truly dig into the tanks though, I would suggest getting something like a Static Shiv for the extra attack speed and crit. It's going to be making your Infinity Edge a lot more effective, having 80% crit rather than having 50% crit. And that's going to be it for the builds. Get a last look at them if you need to pause it. This is the one I take the most, especially when smurfing and boosting. This is what I take whenever I'm getting blown up because they have assassins, and this is what I take against enemy tanky teams that I just can't get through the tanks. Now we're going to be taking a look at the runes. The runes are not near as dynamic as the items. Though they're not as dynamic, they're still just as important in taking the right ones, because if you start taking random runes on Twitch jungle, it will really impact your early and mid game, which will hurt you a lot because Twitch is very early and mid game reliant to start snowballing. Now I'm going to show you the two best rune pages you can take on Twitch jungle. The first one is Press the Attack and Domination. Very common, you can't really go wrong with it. Press the Attack has been buffed twice recently. After the second buff, it has made it a lot more worth to keep taking on Twitch rather than looking for alternatives. First off, take Press the Attack, then Triumph, Alacrity, Coup de Grace, and then for the secondary tree, go Domination. It's going to give you more damage and more burst. Go for Sudden Impact. The extra lethality is nice. And Relentless Hunter. Relentless Hunter is very important for the builds I mentioned earlier. It is what's going to allow you to stay mobile throughout the early, mid, and late game without actually having a pair of boots, because boots don't give Twitch any extra damage, and it takes away from the damage or burst he could have by building normal items rather than boots. Relentless Hunter also gives you an insane amount of out of combat movement speed. For example, in the mid game or in the early mid game, if I have 3 or 4 stacked, you can only have 5 total, 1 for each unique champion you kill. Once you have all 5 stacks and you have your Hurricane and your Static Shiv, which also give movement speed, you'll be moving around 420 out of combat movement speed, which is crazy when you think about it. That's faster than most people are moving with tier 2 boots, which is why I prefer taking Relentless Hunter over any other rune down the domination tree, and it is essential if you're going to be running the builds I mentioned earlier. Otherwise, you will need to have boots until the true late game, which is like 40 minutes into the game. Okay, and the second rune page I take on Twitch, I don't take it as much anymore. I used to take it more when Press the Attack got nerfed, and if Press the Attack does get nerfed again or in the future, consider taking this alternate rune page. It is very strong and can hold its own. I still take it occasionally if my mid laner or top laner has an insane amount of burst, something like a Pantheon or maybe a Tryndamere, and I just need that extra damage. I'll take Domination down the main tree and Precision down the secondary tree. I'll take Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Relentless Hunter. I really like Eyeball Collection because it does give you extra AD throughout the game as you pick up more stacks of eyeballs. Very nice. And down the Precision tree, same thing, Alacrity and Coup de Grace, very nice. You have to take Alacrity for the attack speed. Without it, it's going to hurt you really bad, and Coup de Grace is essential in the early game for finishing people off. It is tempting to take Triumph, but really, you got to go with Coup de Grace. Otherwise, you will be risking giving away free kills. And that is it, guys. I just went over the 3 best builds you can take for Twitch. If you need to go back and pause it on the builds, write it down if you need to. And I just went over the 2 best rune pages for Twitch jungle as well. Right now, I am working on getting a Rat IRL OP.GG replay. OP.GG can be a little bit slow with getting replays from games. That mixed in with patches ruining old replays, it's very difficult to get one. So be patient, and I'll have a Rat IRL commentary coming out soon, or at least I hope it will be soon. For those of you wondering about the tank meta, tanks are still good. You have to have pretty much 1 tank on your team every single game. Otherwise, there's no way to team fight in the late game. I'm just not enjoying playing tanks as much as I used to. Also, I've gotten better mechanically, so I can start playing more assassins and things like that. that I will release some tank commentary guides here in the future. And that is going to wrap up this video. If you guys enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. Also, if you want to see more Twitch jungle content, just check out my channel. I already have loads of it and we'll be putting out more. My name is KingStix. Thank you for watching and I'll catch you guys next time.